Hi, I'm Jen. Welcome to this short targeted practice where we will work on stretching and strengthening the core region, as well as all three areas of the spine: lower back or lumbar region, mid back thoracic region, and the neck or the cervical spine. So for this practice, you'll just need a mat or someplace you can lie down comfortably on the floor, and then one block or something like a block. So I've got a yoga block. Yours may be chewed by the dog, maybe not. You could also use dictionary, thesaurus, something firm that is just maybe a couple inches tall. We'll use that for a couple different things. So if you need to pause to get your space situated, go right ahead. Once you're ready, you can join me just briefly in a seated position, just taking a few moments to settle in. Let's start with a deep breath in through your nose and exhale out your mouth. We'll do 2 more breaths just like that. We'll begin our movement practice today from a reclining position. So coming onto the back, bent knees, feet flat. Feel free to bring a little padding underneath the back of your head if that would make you more comfortable. And we'll start with a little bit of the pelvic clock exercise. So if you imagine underneath where your belly button is down on the mat is the number 12. Underneath where your tailbone is the number 6 on a clock. Let's just start to rock from the 12 to the 6, relaxing your shoulders and your eyes, your cheeks. And then come to the center of that clock and let's just rock a little bit from 3 to 9. Your knees may come along for the ride, but don't let your knees drive the movement. Just pressing one side of your low back into the mat, rolling through the center, and then the other side of your low back into the mat. Just rocking a little side to side. And then maybe starting to make your way all the way around that clock. And then perhaps switching direction. Letting it be a little bit of a massage for your lower back. And then if you'd like, you could pick up your feet, hug your knees in towards your chest, maybe moving your knees around in some circles, going the other direction. And then let's let that go. Maybe take a long full body stretch, reaching long as you inhale. Exhaling to release. Let's roll over onto hands and knees. Now, by all means, bring padding underneath your joints in this quadruped position. You could double up your mat or bring a towel or a blanket or something underneath your knees and or wrists. If bearing weight on your wrist is a complete no-go, maybe bring some blocks underneath your elbows. Pardon any background noise. The dog is going to show us the toy that she's currently obsessed with. We'll start with some cat-cow. So inhale, lift your tailbone, drop your belly, lift your gaze. Exhale, tuck your tailbone, round your spine, tuck your chin, and take a few rounds just like this. Whereas before, when we were on the back doing the pelvic clock, we're really focusing on the lower lumbar spine. Here, we're working on the entire spine, just exploring what the range of motion is right now. And then let's come to a neutral spine. So think halfway between cat and cow, ears up in line with your shoulders, shoulders pull towards the hips. We'll start to gently activate the core by sliding, shifting forward just a little bit, and then shifting back. Imagine that there is a platter of fruit on your back, and you don't want any of that fruit to roll off. Just sliding forward and back. So this is a little bit of stretching through your wrist joints as well. Good, then come through to center, and then without tilting, try to slide a little bit to one side, and then come through and slide to the other side. You might feel different parts of your core turning on. When I shift over to the right, I feel my right obliques, right side waist muscles engage. And then over to the left, I feel the left side engage. And then maybe start to move in a circle. No cat or cow kind of movement here. No arching or rounding through the spine. We don't want any of that imaginary fruit to roll off the tray on our back. Make sure you're breathing. And then let's go the opposite direction. Good. Come through center. Maybe you'd like a cat cow. As that imaginary tray just goes poof, disappears. And then let's give the wrists a little bit of a break. So take your knees wide. Maybe you come on your forearms. Maybe your hips shift a little further back towards a child's pose. And then you could let your hands just rest. You could move through your wrists and your fingers. If it would feel good for you to shift your hips a little side to side, you could certainly do that. Maybe an exhale out the mouth. Good. Let's come forward onto the belly. And we'll work on a little bit of back strengthening. Now, that said, if you feel like what you need right now is to rest on your belly, rest on your belly. If you'd like to join me in a little bit of back muscle strengthening, you might take your feet a little wide, and then you could come up on your forearms, bringing your elbows under your shoulders, squeezing your shoulder blades towards your spine a little bit, engaging the glutes to anchor the hips down. And then lift your chest, pull it forward and up. You might move your head a little bit here. You could shift a little side to side. Now, if you feel like your back is up for a little bit more work, then you could come onto your palms, scooch your hands back until right before your palms want to peel up off the mat. So what this is doing is taking weight bearing out of our hands a little bit. It's harder to bear weight on your hands when they're this far back. So we're making our spinal muscles do the work. So pull the elbows in, engage the glutes to anchor the hips, pull your shoulder blades towards your hips, and then lift the chest. Any amount, it might not be very much. Breathing here. I imagine muscles along either side of the spine cinching up like drawstrings to pull my chest forward and up. Let's take a deep breath in. Exhale, release. Let's press back towards that child's pose again. Maybe exhaling out the mouth, maybe rocking a little bit side to side. And then we'll meet on hands and knees once more. Knees under hips, wrists under shoulders, or elbows under shoulders if you're working with your forearms on blocks. We'll curl the toes under, slide your left foot back so your left leg is long. Make sure we're not bottoming out in the low back, so engage the glutes, push the mat away, ears in line with shoulders. You could stay right here. You could work on lifting your left leg, but not letting the spine banana. You might come on the fingertips of the right hand. You might walk your right hand forward. You might extend your right arm forward, breathing here. And then if you like, you could take a deep breath in here, reaching long, and then exhaling, pulling the belly button to the spine and pulling the elbow and knee together underneath you, and then inhaling long again. Maybe doing that a couple more times, maybe never doing it ever again. It is up to you. Initiate the movement with the belly button pulling up towards the spine. And then on the exhale, let's lower the knee and then the hand. Take a cat-cow. Let's do the other side. Neutral spine. Curl the toes under, slide the right foot back, squaring the hips, ears in line with shoulders. You could stay right here. You could float the right leg up any amount. Just make sure the belly button doesn't drop down towards the floor. You could come on your left fingertips, walk that left hand forward, extend the left arm forward. You could stay here, or you could inhale, reach long through the foot and hand, and then exhale, pull belly button to spine and knee and elbow together beneath you. And then inhale to reach. Try to go as slow as you can. And then back together. And then long. And then back together. And then long. And then putting the right knee down and then the left hand. Let's take a cat-cow. And once again, we'll give the wrists a break. So maybe coming on your forearms, maybe sinking back towards a child's pose, maybe moving through your wrists and fingers, maybe rocking a little side to side. Let's make our way back up to that hands and knees position. And we'll work on rotation, so twisting, but we'll isolate each region of the spine to do this. So from this hands and knees position, pull your ears up in line with your shoulders and begin to turn your head to the right. And then take your nose and point it towards the mat and then turn your head to the left. Do a few rounds side to side. Try not to let your chin move closer to your chest or further from your chest. Just twisting, not lifting or lowering, not tilting. Good. And then we'll bring the head back to center. Now, at any point, if you feel like you need to pause, give your wrists a little shake, come into child's pose, by all means, pause and then come on back. We'll next move into the upper back, mid-spine, thoracic spine. Take your right hand, just barely rest your fingertips on the center back of your head and pull your head up to meet your fingertips. On the inhale, pull your right elbow towards the ceiling, hips stay square. On the exhale, pull your right elbow towards your left elbow to keep your hips square. Inhaling up, exhaling down. Inhaling up, hips don't move, just through that mid and upper back. Exhaling down. And then coming back up once more. And release the right hand down. Then we'll go the other direction. So taking your left hand, just barely resting the fingertips in the center back of your head. Pull your head up to meet your fingers. Inhale, lift that left elbow towards the ceiling. Exhale, let your left elbow come towards your right elbow. And then inhale up, not letting the hips move. So that's going to exhale down, require a little bit of core work as well. Inhaling up, exhaling down. Inhaling up, Exhale, release that left hand down. Maybe you'd like a cat-cow. Maybe you'd like a brief child's pose, giving your wrists a break. And then to work on twisting in the lumbar spine, it's going to be a small range of motion. Our low backs were not built to do a whole lot of twisting. But just to explore it, go ahead and grab your block or roll up a towel so it's a couple inches thick. And bring if you're using a block, lowest setting, please. Bring that block or whatever you're using underneath your right knee, hands underneath shoulders. Now, your right hip is higher up than your left. So pull your belly button in and up towards your spine. Push into your right knee and pull your left knee up in line with your right. So that's just a little bit of twisting in the low back. And then let that left knee float back down. Relax your shoulders a bit. And then lift the left knee up in line with the right. And lower back down. And again, lifting up. And lowering down. Letting that go. And then we'll move the block underneath the left knee. Shoulders towards hips, ears in line with shoulders. Push your left knee down, pull your belly in and up, and lift the right knee up in line with the left, and lower back down. Inhale up, exhale down. One more time, up and down. And then let that go. Let's all take a child's pose. Really give the wrists a rest. Maybe move your wrists, maybe rock your hips a little bit. Maybe an exhale out the mouth. And then let's make our way over onto our backs again. Have your block nearby. We'll use it to stretch out the low back and belly after this exercise. So starting with hips on the mat, torso on the mat, shoulders comfortably on the mat. And we'll extend the arms straight up towards the ceiling. Back of the neck is long. You can absolutely have padding underneath your head if you need to. Let's start with just one arm at a time, drifting back overhead. Don't let your ribs peel up towards the ceiling. So that's going to involve some abdominal engagement. On your exhale, think about your ribs knitting together and pulling that right arm back straight up over the shoulder. And then we'll let the left arm drift back overhead. And then pull it back up. Let's do one more time each side, just the arms. Not letting the torso move, just moving through the shoulder. So that actually is a lot of core work to stabilize. Good. You can take a break. You could continue doing just arms, or I always feel like I need to kind of wiggle my hips away from my ribs a little bit first. Maybe you like to as well. We'll pick the feet up and bring knees over hips and shins sort of in a tabletop position. Let's do just legs. Pull your belly button towards the floor. Let your left toes tap the floor and then left knee come back up in line with right. And then let your right toes tap and then come back up. Now we'll do it all together. Right arm drifts overhead, left toes tap the floor, belly button pull toward the floor, and then come back up to center. And then left arm drifts back, right toes float to the floor. Try not to let your torso move, and then back up through center. Take a couple more rounds. This is a lot on the core. So if you are feeling your core talking to you, you are not alone. Now, if you wanted to level this up, you could have your left leg extend out long instead of having the toes touch the floor. But you want to make sure that your low back isn't really arching way up off the floor. It may not be touching the floor, but you don't want to let it really pull up and away from the floor. Whoo! All right, one more time each side. For me, it works to inhale as I reach and exhale to come back up. Last time. Good. Let your feet come down. Let your arms come down. Maybe wag your knees a little side to side. And then we'll conclude with a supported bridge pose. So with some support underneath your sacrum, which is a wedge-shaped bone at the base of your spine. This can be both a decompression for your low back and a stretch for the belly. So just like we work those abdominal muscles, we need to stretch them as well. So take your block or your thesaurus or dictionary or rolled up blanket and bring it underneath your hips. So lift your bum up, bring your support almost underneath your tailbone so that your hips can tilt with the top of your hips tilting back towards the mat, tailbone maybe tilting forward and up. You could have your arms down beside you. You could rest your hands on your torso. If it would feel nice to take your arms out like a letter T or in a goalpost shape, you could do that as well. If you have the range of motion in your shoulders to make it comfortable to reach your arms overhead, you could do that. And then breathe into your belly. Let your breath help stretch those abdominal muscles. Now, this extra little variation will not be for everybody, and that's okay. If your low back is pretty healthy and stable, then you might like to, with the block underneath your sacrum, extend your legs long, finding a little bit of a passive back bend with the hips elevated. If that causes any kind of pinching or sharp sensation, please let it go. It has no reflection on who you are. It just reflects your body at this moment in time. Let's take one more deep breath in. Exhale. And then take your time coming out of that supported bridge pose. And just take a couple breaths. Maybe you'd like to find a fluid twisting movement where your knees go one way and your head the other. Maybe you'd like to hug your knees in again, or even take a happy baby pose, catching your feet and your hands. And then you might like to remain on your back for a while longer. If you'd like to join me in coming upright, you are welcome to do that as well. Thank you so much for taking this time to take care of yourself and for sharing it with me. Om Shanti. I'll see you next time.